This is the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast, hosted by David Charlton, and you're listening to this podcast to help you build your own mental toughness, so that you can support other people or your clients better. Either way, you will learn more about developing this plastic personality trait that all but guarantees that you will perform better and lead a more prosperous life. In last week's episode with Charlotte Potts, we touched on mindfulness, and towards the end of the episode there, I talked about it a little bit more. So today, this is a solo episode, and I just want to cover the topic in a little bit more detail, where we're going to look at ACT and mindfulness to help you improve your sporting performances. So, do you struggle to remain present in the moment? Is a question I'd like you to ask yourself. Personally, I know I do, and I would say 100% of my clients do. In fact, anybody I have a conversation with, anybody I know, everybody on this universe, we all struggle with remaining present in the moment. It's a human tendency to think in the past, what we did an hour ago, half an hour ago, or to fast forward to the future and what's going to happen in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 2 weeks, 2 years. And, thrust sport into this and pressure, which I would think all athletes do experience, especially when they're performing. The best athletes, the best performers out there, they're able to manage this pressure well. They often go on to produce clutch performances, resulting in some amazing moments. I bet we've all witnessed it. Be it in Grand Slam finals over the years between Roger Federer, Rafa Nadal, and Novak Djokovic, or golden moments such as David Beckham and the one he produced for England versus Greece in 2001 in the last minute on the way to qualifying for the World Cup. It's part and parcel of sport. However, it certainly does interesting things to us. Does pressure. When you look at athletes, tension, nerves, anxiety all come to the fore in these clutch moments or when we're under pressure. So, when we consider anxiety, it's a state, and it's something that we can experience both physically and psychologically. We can feel apprehensive in relation to a perceived threat. And anxiety differs according to the situation and the individual. I've come across countless examples of athletes who struggle to deal with it. For instance, here are some messages I've received. I'm so frightened that I've got to the point that I pull out of races on the day, and I'm considering quitting triathlon for good. Unfortunately, my son has been unable to get much game time this season due to suffering from pre-match nerves. He appears fine at training. However, when it comes to match day, he's unable to go through with it, and he can't bring himself to even get out of the car. He's been attending recent matches purely as a spectator. It's really, really sad. Then she has one problem. She gets really, really anxious in the last few minutes before a session or a competition, and this results in either tears or, more commonly now, vomiting. Anyway, more on anxiety. So trait anxiety, this is linked to a person's personality, whereas state anxiety is often when athletes experience momentary feelings of anxiety in specific situations born out of fear. And it's important as a sports psychologist, a mental coach, a coach, or a parent to factor this in if you're going to be able to address and get to the root of the issue. So, thinking about anxiety, how is it that you can get rid of feelings of anxiety? Well, one technique, you could look at ACT, so acceptance and commitment therapy. This can really help you manage anxiety, lessening the sensations that you might experience in your body, and it can also quieten your mind. ACT, it can teach you how to accept anxiety, actively embrace it, and recognize that there are ways to actually help it improve your performance. ACT's a skill-based approach, and it differs an awful lot from psychology in general. So, for argument's sake, we've got cognitive behavioral therapy. This is when you capture unhelpful thoughts and then you seek to change them, which involves being in your head. And as Dr. James Hegarty told me in episode 92 of Demystifying Mental Toughness, I teach people to attend without getting involved in their thoughts. It's a very body-based approach where you pay attention to your body. You will have thoughts and build acceptance of unwanted physical sensations. For instance, you might feel yourself tensing up and you learn how to just feel those feelings, not to make them worse. ACT has 6 elements to it: acceptance, cognitive diffusion, self as context, committed action, values, and contact with the present moment. If you experience anxious thoughts while competing, you can learn to diffuse from those thoughts, which goes on to help reduce the levels of anxiety and subsequent impact on your performance. I really would recommend that you do listen to episode 92 if you're interested in this area. It was a fascinating conversation. Anyway, back to this episode. So this means that rather than being captivated by an anxious thought, you can actually allow your thoughts to simply come and go, much like clouds do in the sky. This approach goes on to free up mental space in your mind and enable psychological flexibility, as well as dealing with performance anxiety. There are so many benefits to ACT and mindfulness. I'm going to give you 5 reasons, and then I'm going to talk about where this all ties in with mental toughness. So, firstly, it really can help you become more psychologically flexible. So by introducing these 6 core principles of ACT into your everyday life, training and competing, it can help you become more flexible in the way that you think and approach different situations on and off the pitch, course or court. Secondly, it helps you recognize that perfection does not exist and that mistakes, losses, or negative experiences are part and parcel of life and sport. You know, if you have a run of defeats or you're in poor form, it's so easy to get stuck in the past, dwelling on these experiences. It can be so hard to move on for some. And often in sport, athletes, they're really practical people who just want to move on and they just want to set new goals, brushing off these experiences. Yet, by not acknowledging them, this can mean that you just fail to learn and you keep on repeating the same mistakes time and time again. ACT can help you accept these experiences by working with your mind rather than always feeling that you're in a battle. Thirdly, ACT can help you trust your skills more. You know, if you're in a constant struggle, if you're working so hard to get better, looking for that extra 1%, you can get in reactive mode. You're always fixing things, fixing issues, changing technique, tactics. It can wear you down. ACT recognizes this. It recognizes this fight, and it really can help you improve the sporting experience so that you feel more fulfilled and enriched. Then we've got stress. Fourthly, it can help you decrease levels of stress. Mindfulness is proven to induce a state of relaxation so that you can lower your blood pressure, your heart rate, and levels of anxiety. It can also improve your clarity of thought, your perception of those difficult experiences that you may face in sport. Then lastly, number 5, we've got mindfulness can actually provide a shield if you're getting bullied. Unfortunately, bullying does take place in sport, in life, in the workplace. In sport, it can come from opponents, from teammates, from coaches, and social media. That's right, social media trolls. Mindfulness can help protect you if you're in this situation by reducing any depressive feelings that you might experience. It's a fantastic coping tool that can help you see different perspectives and then find other ways to respond to any bullying. Now then, so a question that you might have is, how does ACT and mindfulness actually fit and tie in with mental toughness? So let me explain. We're going to look at the 4 C's. We're going to look at commitment, control, confidence, and challenge. I'm going to start off with confidence. So it has 2 elements. You've got confidence and ability. So in sport, it's that ability to see and feel yourself making a pass or a shot, and then you're going to execute it. You've also got interpersonal confidence, which is about expressing yourself more freely and influencing other people, certainly in group situations. So in both cases, internal dialogue can prevent us from acting in a confident way. And this is where ACT and mindfulness can come in. It can help quieten your mind in this respect. So again, you can see things from a different perspective. So rather than being so self-critical, you just dampen that down a little. Then we've got commitment. So how many people set goals? Certainly sports people, athletes, coaches, if you're really driven, You're going to be setting goals an awful lot, but how many don't actually have the patience to see things through to the end? How many procrastinate? And it's not nice, is it? It can be quite uncomfortable. And this is where ACT and mindfulness come in. They can help you deal with these uncomfortable situations and feelings that you might come across in this regard. It can really help you navigate through your goals. And any setbacks and obstacles, it can help you get through those. We've got the control element, which is massively important. And this is about managing your emotions and also having a can-do attitude towards life. Because you can quieten the mind down, it means that you can manage your emotions better. And again, going back to the whole having a clear perspective, having a bigger picture mindset, this helps with that nice driven can-do attitude. Then we've got lastly the challenge element. So, we can choose to play it safe, or we can choose to take risks. And if your head is a little bit clearer, less confused, more mindful, then you can make better decisions. You can be more calculated in the way that you go about things, which means that you can actually learn more. When you do make mistakes, you won't repeat them so often, or it's less likely that you will, because you're going to have better insight into what actually is happening. So again, I hope you've enjoyed this short solo episode of the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast. I've mentioned on the previous 2 episodes that I've got a new campaign which has recently started. It's called Conversations with Kids. So if you're a parent or a coach or involved in youth sport, perhaps a PE teacher as well, you may well be interested. You'll see in the show notes a link where you can sign up to this. You'll get a weekly email, or you could join us in the Sports Psychology Hub, which is a Facebook group I've got set up. And those weekly emails will be organised in a different format where you can get to see what this is all about, this Conversations with Kids. Ultimately, though, what it is, it's looking at alternative ways, rather than going through a practitioner, rather than reading a book, an alternative way to help improve bit by bit your child or children's mental strength and emotional flexibility. If you've got any questions about it, feel free to drop me an email. It's info@sport-excellence.co.uk. Have a great week. If you enjoyed this episode of the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast with David Charlton, do check out my website, sport-excellence.co.uk, and my online sports psychology resources. The Sport-Excellence website has essential resources for anyone looking to build their own mental toughness or the mental toughness of their athletes or teams, or if you want to achieve peak performance more often or optimal functioning. The Sport Excellence website has everything you need to keep moving forward and thrive. So go on, head over to sport-excellence.co.uk to find out more.